So in the last video I said that to rise again, para resurgir, de nuevo, to rise again, we had to rely on, teníamos que confiar, we had to rely on some of the pillars that built this club. Fights, effort, heart, and love for the badge, y amor por el escudo. And the nearly 500 million fans around the world. And that's exactly what we showed today, with several academy kids and half the squad missing. It wasn't pretty, but we carried the game and snatched the win in stoppage time, on a tricky pitch, en un campo muy complicado, on a tricky pitch. Sometimes that's exactly what it takes. A veces eso es lo que hace falta. Muy buenas a todos, gente buena, buena gente, football geeks, frikis del fútbol, football geeks, and welcome to a new episode of Inglés para Vikingos. All right, my dear friends, call me shameless. Llamadme despiadado, desvergonzado. Call me shameless. Call me pathetic if you want. I genuinely don't care. Tonight it was about one thing only, the 3 points. And guess what? We got them. Was it pretty? Not at all. Was it our worst game of this season? Probably not either. But considering the circumstances, 10 players missing, yes, 10, my beloved Vikingos. 10 players missing. Through injuries and suspensions. You know, sometimes football is less about art and more about survival. Before we even talk about the match, look at the situation we came into this game with. Militao, Álava, Carreras, Huijsen, Kylian, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Camavinga, etc., etc., etc. All unavailable. Todos indisponibles. All unavailable. The squad list was unprecedented. La lista de convocados era inédita. At one point, it felt like half the medical room, la mitad de la enfermería, could have started a match sheet. So to be fair, I wasn't expecting champagne football. Un fútbol de campanillas. Champagne football. I truly expected something messy or scrappy. Algo caótico o desorganizado. Just the kind of game where you just try to walk away with a narrow win. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Actually, the first 15 to 20 minutes of the first half were pretty good. We looked organized and tried to control the game. We even missed a couple of clear-cut chances. Incluso fallamos un par de ocasiones claras. A couple of clear-cut chances. And then Tchouaméni delivered a beauty. Marcó un golazo, una belleza de gol. A corner routine, the ball drops to him on the edge of the box, and bang, inside of the foot. Gorgeous strike and a stunner. Y golazo, a stunner. Guys, let's stop for a second and talk about Tchouaméni. This guy's been phenomenal this season. Recovering balls, winning duels, cutting passing lanes, and now adding goals as well. Some fans were talking about selling him, included myself a few months ago. I admit it, but right now he's completely transformed his game and is easily one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe. And suddenly CELTA equalized, empató, equalized. And we need to talk about it, because Trent Alexander-Arnold, my friend, my buddy, my mate, my colleague, what the heck happened there? What the heck were you doing? Look guys, everyone knows this player. Some even call him a generational talent going forward. Not according to me, by the way. But fine, I'll give him this. His passing range is just ridiculous. Es la leche, just ridiculous. Fijaos cómo se usa el adjetivo ridiculous en inglés, con ese matiz de algo extraordinario. So his passing range is ridiculous, okay? That said, defending like that just can't happen. He was closer to the ball and still gets beaten for pace, por velocidad, for pace. And then one simple chop inside, un simple recorte hacia adentro, a simple chop inside, and he's completely out of the play. He's completely cooked. So embarrassing, guys. That's not about talent. That's about concentration and effort. Against CELTA, you might get away with it. Te puedes salir con la tuya. Against someone like Doku from City or a Champions League winger, that could be a total mess. A total nightmare. So after the equalizer, después del empate, CELTA actually took control. Tomaron el control. Their pressing suffocated our build-up, nuestra construcción de juego, our build-up. Rudiger and the backline struggled to play out. Se las vieron y se las desearon para sacar el balón de atrás. They struggled to play out. And for about 15 minutes, it felt like we were hanging on. Que estábamos ahí aguantando el tirón. We were hanging on. So when halftime came and it was 1-1, honestly, it felt like a fair result. The second half, I won't lie. No os voy a mentir. I won't lie. But it was painful. Slow passing, static movement. At times it felt like the game was being played in slow motion. I mean, you're chasing the league leaders 6 points behind, and yet the tempo looked like a Sunday training session. At the very end, CELTA even came very close around the 80th minute to walk away with the 3 points because Iago Aspas had a one-on-one with Courtois and he hit the post. And that was millimeters away from being our third straight league defeat, nuestra tercera derrota consecutiva. But we got lucky there, folks. And then football does what football does. A counter-attack, ball ends up with Vini on the left, switches across, Trent swings it across, the clearance, el despeje, the clearance falls to Fede Valverde, and Fede does what Fede does. Not even a clean shot this time. A slight deflection, un ligero rechace, but the ball ends up in the top corner, en la escuadra. Game over, 3 points secured. Sometimes football is about brilliance. Sometimes it's just about being in the right place when chaos happens. And now, like always, welcome to the axis of evil. Bienvenidos al eje del mal. A Spanish league that stinks of systemic corruption. Not my words, folks, by the way, but a judge, written black and white in a preliminary report. Welcome to the Farsa Negrera League, where a club paid for over 2 decades, got caught red-handed, les pillaron con las manos en la masa, and just walked away unpunished. They carried on like nothing happened. Same privileges, same story. Y hoy la sección viene muy cargadita, amigos, because what our team experienced at Balaidos was not just poor refereeing, it was an attempted hold-up, un intento de atraco, an attempted hold-up. The decisions from the ref on the pitch and the other one in the VAR room were beyond explanation. Honestly, they bordered on the unacceptable. Alright lads, let's walk through this quickly and clearly, because this sequence is honestly hard to believe. Minute 1, Tchouaméni gets studded high on the shin, almost at knee level, a proper dangerous tackle. Result, not even a foul. And VAR, quiet, silence, because if the referee goes to the screen, it is a straight red every day of the week. Imagine CELTA playing the whole match with 10 men. Second action, still 0-0. Vini beats the defenders for pace, en velocidad, for pace. He goes one-on-one with the keeper and gets pushed from behind with both arms inside the box just as he shoots. Clear imbalance, clear contact. Result, nothing. No penalty, no VAR review, and we didn't even see a replay for this. And if this wasn't serious enough already, aún hay más. Third action, minute 63. Score 1-1. Guller gets the ball first inside the area and the defender kicks him instead of the ball. Literally clears his boot. Again, no VAR call. And then minute 70. Finally, VAR calls to review a handball. Everyone watching thinks, okay, now the penalty comes. But no, the referee finds a tiny push beforehand far softer than the one on Vini and cancels the penalty. Listen folks, this final play is enough to make you pack it in, recoger los bártulos, pack it in, and walk off the pitch, y pirarse del campo, walk off the pitch. Today we won, yes. You could say in the end the only thing that matters is the 3 points. But honestly lads, I'm sorry, when you play inside this ecosystem, you have to call it out night and day. Hay que denunciarlo todos los días. You have to call it out whether you win or lose. Because it clearly felt in this game like everything possible was done to make sure we didn't win. Just look at the referee's face when we scored the last-minute goal. He looked absolutely stunned, golpeado, machacado, atolondrado. Folks, with decisions like that, it is hard to believe in the integrity of the competition. And in a match like this, you almost feel like walking away, focusing on the Champions League and letting the whole world see what's really going on in this league. But just take a look at the major national sports outlets, chock full of anti-Madrid fan bases from Atletico, Farsa, Sevilla or Valencia. People who are openly fans of those clubs. They have ended up placing opinion leaders as directors in outlets and platforms like Movistar Plus, Cope, Ser, Marca, AS, and so on and so forth. Year after year is the same story, and I challenge anyone to prove otherwise, with names and facts. Because this is what happens, guys. These so-called opinion leaders bring on referees and pundits, Árbitros y expertos, entre comillas, añado yo, who are clearly anti-Real Madrid biased, always finding some angle to question anything that benefits our team, while rolling out the red carpet mientras sacan la alfombra roja for controversial calls para las jugadas polémicas that mainly favor the club we all know. The data and statistics are there, my friends. Again, I challenge anyone to prove otherwise. Because this is what they do. They basically judge isolated plays and twist the interpretation each time. 1 minute they say, oh, the keeper might get there in Cubarsi's case. And the next day, they come out with a different excuse for whizzing against Real Sociedad. The narrative shifts depending on the badge, dependiendo del escudo. And that's the pattern. Same type of situations, but when it could favor Real Madrid, suddenly the story does a full 180. Da un giro de 180 grados. That's a full 180. But just to be clear, amigos, pero para dejarlo claro, for me, Huijsen's red card against Real Sociedad wasn't a red, and Cubarsi shouldn't be one either. A yellow was more than enough, as it actually was. But you see, that's the double standard. When it's ours, it somehow becomes the red. And if the roles were reversed, y si fuera al revés, Laporta, his entourage, y su entorno, his entourage, plus half the media, would be in meltdown, entrarían en colapso. They would be in meltdown, debating it for weeks. Today's photo of the match goes to Mendy, guys. Believe it or not, with the injury list piling up, amontonándose, piling up, the stars somehow aligning, las estrellas de alguna forma alineándose, and him not being injured for once, he found himself back in the starting 11. And to be honest, he looked like prime Mendy. He was quick, solid as a rock at the back. He didn't offer much going forward, but neither did the rest of the team. Still, with half the squad missing, he was at least a defensive safety net. The problem, as always, is the same story. He plays 1 or 2 games and then disappears for the next 10 or 12. Anyway, that's the deal, lads. Es lo que hay. That's the deal. So, in a nutshell, listen, my dear Vikingos, this wasn't pretty football, I know. The performance was poor, the build-up messy, la construcción de juego muy mala, and the second half nearly put everyone to sleep. But with the injuries, the suspensions, and the situation we are in, the only thing that mattered tonight was the 3 points. Over the long season, you don't always win with style. Sometimes you win through sheer stubbornness, por pura cabezonería, sheer stubbornness. And tonight, that's exactly what this team did. And now all eyes turn into the next big test. Manchester City again. A completely different beast coming to the Bernabeu this time. And we all know that if we play like this, with this elite opposition, we need more than a miracle. But hey, this is Real Madrid, and strange things tend to happen on big Champions League nights. So I send you a big hug to all of you Madridistas, and I see you in the next video.